Amy Vince is a tapping expert and founder of the Soar with Tapping app. I'm so excited to talk about that. She has been transforming herself and the lives of her clients with tapping for over 17 years and truly believes tapping to be the most powerful healing tool available today. I'm really excited. Welcome, Amy. So good to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, Shannon. I'm honored to be here.
I'm excited about this because I have not had anyone doing tapping on this podcast yet. And I'm admitting when I first learned about tapping a long time ago, I was like, whatever.
I know, right? I did the same thing.
Yeah, like, come on.
Yeah.
But the more I did this work, the more I did research, the more I heard about it and just different modalities that I've done myself, I'm like, oh, totally makes sense
Mm-hmm.
to me. So I am so glad to have you on.
Oh, good, good. Introduce more and more people
Yeah.
to it. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. And so I also will admit this isn't a practice that I have started doing. So after today, we're going to see how it goes. And it may be something that I incorporate in, but I always do want to give the audience just different modalities, different
Yeah,
things that they can try because what works for me may not work for everyone, or what works for me, I might go, "Oh my gosh, you've got to try this."
right,
So
right.
that's hopefully what people get out of this episode today.
Yeah. I think one of the important things about having this tool in your toolbox, we've got a lot of tools, right? But we know that we need to take care of our physical body, and we've got a lot of ways that we can do that. We know that we can take care of the spiritual part of ourselves, and we have a lot of ways that we can do that. Walks in nature, meditation, whatever your thing
Mhm.
is. And we have highly valued taking care of ourselves intellectually for so many years. I mean, we put our kids through school and, highly valued
Yeah.
higher education and that sort of thing, but we have never really um, gone deep into the emotional part of who we are. And really,
Mhm.
emotions are king. They dictate every experience that we have, whether it's a good experience or a bad experience. And so, this using tapping is a really great way to gain emotional intelligence and to gain kind of emotional flexibility and awareness. And it's like building a muscle, like anything else.
Right.
It takes a little bit of work to get adept at it. But when you do, it makes life so much easier.
Right?
Yeah, to not feel like you don't have to run from uncomfortable emotions, to actually allow yourself to lean in and move through them, feeling them as they come up, then that means that they don't
Mhm.
get stored in our body and create problems later. So that's where tapping is really, really powerful.
Yes, and that's why I'm so excited about this because one of the things I talk a lot about on this podcast and to the listener is I get that we're embarrassed and maybe a little bit feeling shameful of our jealousy and our insecurities.
Yep.
But if you keep trying to push it away, if you keep going, I don't want to feel it. I hate that I have this, then we can't work through it. We can't let it move through us
Right.
and go, okay, now I know how to manage this. Now I know how to feel the uncomfortable emotions and the uncomfortable feelings. And I also know that guess what? If I lean into them, as you said,
Hmm.
they dissipate, right? They don't
They
stay.
don't stay. But we've never been taught to lean in, right? I mean, we get judged and criticized for having any other emotions than the happy ones. And so it
Right.
becomes something that we're taught to avoid at all costs, that it is somehow a bad thing. And I don't think there are any negative emotions. I just think that there are some that are more uncomfortable than others. And the
Right.
more we have the courage to lean in, we find out that they aren't going to kill us like it feels sometimes. It really isn't going to kill us to feel that stuff. And it
Mhm.
just might give us some clues about what's really going on underneath the surface, because things like jealousy and insecurity are symptoms. They're symptoms of
Yeah.
some other core issue that needs to be addressed. And so when they come up, if we can kind of step outside of the judgments and criticisms about feeling that way, then we can get
Mhm.
curious about what's underneath it and then have a pathway forward, that is more healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you mentioned when I said, "Oh, I didn't I had my judgment about tapping itself in the beginning." You said, "Oh, yeah, me too." So, how did you get into it,
Hmm.
and how long have you been doing it? Tell us about that.
Okay. So I was diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 31.
Mm. Wow.
So really young in terms of, being diagnosed with cancer, and
Yeah.
no history of breast cancer in my family whatsoever. Um, but I think what I had on my side at the time, I should say up until that point, I had gone through periods of anxiety, periods of depression,
Mm.
not really understanding why. I just kind of figured that they were character defects.
Mhm.
So I got to this point, but the one thing that I had on my side was, I've always kind of been a seeker and really curious about human behavior, especially my own. And it was, I would often look at my own behavior, like if I had a kind of an irrational response to maybe some criticism
Right.
or feelings of jealousy and insecurity, and I could look over at somebody else who was, relatively the same as me, and see that that person was not responding to a similar situation in that way, and even laughing it off and not thinking about it twice. So I would often look at those type of things and be curious about what it is about me that felt so different. So
Mhm.
when the breast cancer diagnosis came, it kind of fast tracked my need to find answers to those things, because I really felt on an intuitive level that it was because of my insecurities and my anxiety and depression that
Mm.
I had breast cancer, because
Yeah, that you developed it.
that I developed it because of those things.
Yeah.
Um, so that's when I really started hot and heavy down the path of unraveling myself and kind of what caused it. And so I got involved with Tony Robbins, love that guy, and went through his whole program, and then was crewing an event. And I met Nick Ortner, who is really big in the world of tapping. And he called me like a month later and said, I found this thing. I'm so excited about it. I want to try it on you. And we had one session, and that's all it took to kind of recognize the power of this tool. And it was really short after that that I got certified, um, and started my own tapping journey with my own coach.
Mhm.
And I had kind of intermittent success with it. Sometimes I would have a really great session and feel like there was just a lot of release, and other times I would walk away like, that didn't really make an impact at all.
Sure.
Um, but I had another crisis in my life, as we do, about 7 years ago.
Yeah, because we can't just have one,
No, no,
right? We
no.
can't just have one or one at a time,
No,
right?
no.
Yeah.
Um, where it just felt like everything was crumbling around me. Like I was doing horribly at my job, and was about to get fired, and my body was in pain a lot of the time. I was having panic attacks pretty much on a daily basis.
Mm.
Everything felt like it was crumbling around me. And I went to this tool, but I tried using it differently this time. I went after the core issues. Like I was experiencing big fear of failure, so I'd started tapping on that, but then I was like, well, what actually would happen if I failed? Like,
Mhm.
what would happen? Maybe I would get judgment and criticism from people. And then I was
Mhm.
like, well, why is that so scary if other people are judging and criticizing me? Because then it went to something else, like, well, maybe that would confirm my worst fears, that I am unworthy and deserving of love. Or
Right.
maybe they would reject me or abandon me if that actually happened, which is what happened for me as a kid. My dad left when I was like 4 years old. So I kind of took the top symptom of what was happening, and then I kept saying, well, what would happen if that was actually true? What would happen if that was actually true? And what would that mean to me? And then I started tapping around that and telling myself, well, of course I would be absolutely deathly afraid of that happening. Like, so I just kept honoring and acknowledging that part of me that had been so traumatized by that experience. And then, it took like maybe 2 weeks of tapping for about a half an hour a day while I'm on the treadmill. And all of a sudden, Shannon, I was finally able to look at the world without the lens of being or thinking that there was something wrong with me. And it was
Right.
like all of a
Right.
sudden I could see that the sky was blue. It was a
Oh,
total
that's
shift
amazing.
in my perspective and about who I was, and everything changed in that moment. I'm not saying that the work ended in that moment. I mean, I don't think I'll ever be done doing my own personal work. But if anybody can feel that type of transformation, I feel like this is my work to do in the world, to bring this
Mhm.
tool, this amazing tool, and use it in a way that harnesses its full power. Then anybody can experience that type of transformation, and I want to make it available to as many people as possible.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that story. That's amazing, and I know that the person listening to this, they can relate probably to a lot of what you're saying,
Hmm.
and I think that's what we're all after, right? Of, okay, how am I seeing the world with all of these wounds and this filter and this lens that I have on?
Hmm.
And then, my gosh, what would life be like
Yes.
if I could take that off and not
Yes.
have that anymore?
Yes.
And, so this is hopefully a way that somebody can, along their journey, this be a tool for them to get to that place as well.
Yeah. When I started tapping, though, I have to admit, I thought it was so stupid. I thought I looked so stupid, like I'm
I was gonna say, I
tapping
think
on
that's
my
people's
face, tapping
biggest
on my
thing,
body. I'm like,
like,
oh God, this just feels cringy. Like I don't want anybody to look at me while I'm doing this. But
right.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't have continued if I didn't notice a difference right away. So that's one of the
Okay, so yeah, judgment aside, you
yes.
can't worry about what you look like when you're doing it, just go with it.
Yeah, yeah, totally just go with
Yeah.
it. And then yeah, the bottom line is it works. It doesn't hurt anything. So you're not risking anything by trying it. And if you're alone, then who gives a shit what you look like, right? You just kind of go for it and know that in the end you're going to feel better.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, so all judgment aside today, if you're somewhere while you're listening to this that you're like, "I'm in the gym, I can't do this." Okay, pause it, and then when you're in a space that feels good, I would imagine after you do it for a while, you're like, "Okay, I don't worry about it
Yeah, I don't
anymore."
care. I don't care.
Yeah, who cares, right? Yeah. Okay, so are there things that we need to know leading up to, okay, I'm going to do this session, or how do we start to familiarize ourselves or start the process?
I'd love to tell you how it works. A lot of people
Okay.
will kind of suspend judgment a little bit more when they kind of hear how it works and the kind of the science behind it a little bit. So um, it's a bit of a triple threat because it incorporates three different modalities that combined are really powerful. So the first is energy therapy, which it's just like acupuncture and utilizes the 14 energy meridians found in Chinese medicine. But instead of the needles, we are using the percussion of tapping on our acupressure
Mm,
points, and which is way better than needles any day.
than the needles.
It
Yeah.
also,
Side note, I don't mean to interrupt you, but yes, because the acupuncture, when I was in physical therapy and for a hip issue,
hmm
and they were like, okay, let's try acupuncture. And I'm like, okay, I've never done it before. And then right before he puts the needle in, he goes, well, I have to just also tell you, because they had me sign forms or whatever. Have it, this could there is a possibility this could like puncture your lung or whatever go through. And I'm like, hold on,
Oh
wait,
my God, time out.
nah. No, 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 no. I was like, "Yep, that's it for me, not happening." So,
Oh my
I love that
gosh.
this is a, safer, more comfortable version.
Yes, yes, it absolutely is. It also
Great.
uses cognitive therapy aspects because you're talking about what it is you want to release while you're doing the tapping. And then there's the somatic element because while you're tapping, you can't help but kind of gather your energy back from the past and gather your energy back from the future and really ground yourself in the present moment, which is what somatic work does. It grounds you in your body. And those three different elements combined are really, really powerful. So, what's happening on a scientific level is that we know when we're experiencing something like jealousy, we know that we've been
Mhm.
triggered somehow. We
Right.
might not necessarily know what has triggered us. It could be the behavior of our partner, it could be a past experience,
Mhm.
anything along those lines, but something is happening in our environment that is causing us to feel this feeling of jealousy.
Yeah.
So, what happens is our amygdala, the stress center in our brain, gets triggered, that fight, fight, or freeze mode, and our body gets rushed with cortisol. So, the act of tapping on our bodies on these acupressure points keeps telling our amygdala to de escalate, de escalate, de escalate.
Mm.
It's okay to feel safe and calm in this moment. And it is lowering cortisol in our system 43% faster than if you had done nothing else.
Really?
43% studies have shown.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Because that's a big problem with
Yes.
when someone is experiencing jealousy, it's like that cortisol, the rush of cortisol, and then out the mouth comes the thing that you probably don't wanna say to your partner
Yeah.
or explode have that sort of outburst, and I know
Yeah.
people all the time are like, "I can't control it. I feel like I can't control it." So that's fantastic.
Yeah. It's lowering your heart rate. It's lowering your blood pressure. It's lowering cortisol, like I said. It's also increasing immune function in your body and increasing happiness. So it's doing all of these things in a really short period of time. There have been over 300 studies done about how effective this tool actually is at doing all of those things for us. It is a great regulator in a dysregulated system.
Oh, I love it. Okay, I'm even more excited.
Right? Yeah. So, yeah, it's just a process. And I think the thing that people get hung up on the most is the fact that we are talking about all of the negative feelings that we have
Mm,
when we're doing the tapping. So what actually
okay.
happens is that we will take a rating. Say, how jealous do you feel on a scale from 0 to 10? Maybe you're at a 10 in this moment. You're really triggered for whatever reason. So we go, okay, you're at a 10. We tap, 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 tap. And then we take a rating at the end and see how much it's come down. It's could come down like 3, 4 points, and then you just keep tapping, keep tapping, keep
Mm,
tapping. But at some point, you'll reach the magic number of like maybe a 3 or a 4 on that scale.
right.
And that's
Something
when
more
you can
manageable.
start infusing all more positive comments. That's when your body and your mind can
Okay.
accept the more positive comments at a really deep level. So we have to take that time to honor and acknowledge, give all of those feelings their day in court. Allow ourselves to actually feel them instead of suppressing them, instead of making them wrong in some way, shape, or form. We just allow them. And then that's when the magic of releasing them happens because it's working through, it's not denying or shoving away as far as we can. It is working through them that allows us to release it. And the whole time, remember, you're telling your brain to de escalate while you're saying these words. So if you say something like, I just can't control the words that come out of my mouth when I'm having this feeling. You're telling yourself it's okay. It's peaceful. Things are peaceful. We're in this moment. Everything is fine. There is actually no real threat in this
Mhm.
moment,
Right.
and it's okay to feel safe and let that guard down.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
good.
Yeah. That's the magic behind it. I've had some people say
So
kind of like it feels toxic, kind of engaging with those negative, or I
right.
would say uncomfortable emotions. I don't think and there's any negative emotions, but they're uncomfortable because we're not used to them, because we haven't been taught
Mhm.
to engage with our emotions this way. We're taught to only have happy emotions. Anything less than that
Right.
is unacceptable. So this is a process of learning how to engage with the uncomfortable.
Well, and I like that too, and I'm surprised to hear, that you are saying the negative things as you're tapping because, of course, we typically hear, "Oh, the positive, the positive."
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's interesting because they're there already, and you're right, like,
Hmm.
that's one of the biggest things, like, talk about them.
Yes.
Even just being able to talk, we always feel better if we can
Yes.
talk about something, talk something through. So it completely makes sense that, hey, those thoughts are there. Instead of pushing them down, just
Hmm.
say them out loud.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. So, well, that I guess I said say them out loud. Do you say it out loud or can you just say it to yourself or does it matter either way?
Ideally, you say it out loud.
Say it out loud.
There's
Okay. That's
something
kind of
really
what I thought.
powerful that happens when you actually release words from your throat. And I've had many clients
Yeah.
tell me that it just feels so cathartic to have
Hmm.
to release a thought that has been in my head forever.
Yeah.
So, but if that doesn't feel like a possibility, if it feels too vulnerable, if there's people around, absolutely tap and say the words in your head. That will still be
Hmm.
effective, just not as effective. So I would do whatever level you can and whatever level you feel comfortable with.
Okay. That's helpful because I was imagining, my last really big trigger on the beach in Costa Rica, and I talk about that episode all the time, but I can imagine people if I started saying stuff out loud and tapping, people go, "Okay, what is happening?"
Right,
So, I
right.
was curious if you can kind of probably play off the tapping part, but the talking out loud
Yeah. And
might turn some
yeah.
heads.
And I would say all the things you're feeling. I would talk about how embarrassing it feels. I would talk about how out of
Yeah.
control you feel. I would talk about all the feelings that you're having in those moments. Even if you're kind of cringy, like, I don't even want to say that out loud, those are the things that you especially need to say out loud. Just give it a voice and then it goes away. You just like it persists as long as you resist it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So, anything else we need to know before I assume are you gonna walk us through, like, a demonstrate? Are you gonna
I
show
do.
us
I have my
where
whole
and
script ready
all the
for you.
things?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Alright.
Okay. So I'm going to walk through the tapping points first. Um,
Okay.
and I just want to point out that it is one of the only areas I will ever encourage people to be a perfectionist, because one of the points is at the beginning of your eyebrow. But if you're tapping somewhere up in the middle of your forehead, it's not nearly as effective. So we
Mm,
need to be a
okay.
little bit of a perfectionist around this. So the first spot
Okay.
is down from our pinky finger. It's called our karate chop point. And I like to tap
Okay.
on both sides of my body. So I tap those two spots together. That's called your karate chop point. And I'm going to tell you that all tapping coaches out there will probably use different points, and none of them are wrong.
Sure.
They might only tap on one side of their body. This is the way that I learned, and I feel like I get the most bang for the buck out of it. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like it would be like the gym if I only worked one side like, I only did my right arm
Yeah.
workout,
I
it
feel
would
like I'm
feel weird.
here. Why don't I just do all the
Do
things?
both?
Yeah.
And about how long, like, once you're at a spot, if we're doing this one, about how long do you stay in each place?
You stay through each place through the words. So with the karate
Oh,
point right here, we're going to say what's called a setup statement. And it's like something like, even though I feel really jealous right now, and then you would repeat after me. And
Okay.
I still love and honor all my thoughts and feelings about this. And so we say something like that 3 times, and then we move to the other tapping points, doing something called repeater phrases. So the first point is right at the beginning of our eyebrows. I want to tap right there. Second spot is at your temple, and then under your eye, right on top of your cheekbones, and then under your nose, under your mouth. And the next spot is your collarbone point. So if you find the beginning of your collarbone, you're going to go down about an inch. There's a little valley in between your ribs and your
Oh,
collarbone on either side of your sternum. So you tap on that spot. And then under your arms, right where, for women, it's where your bra strap would be, maybe 3 to 4 inches down from your armpit. The next spot is just below, I don't know if you can hear me, just below your underwire on your bra, on your ribs.
okay.
So right in
Oh,
that spot right
yeah.
there. And then there's a wrist spot. There's 3 acupressure points, one on the outside, middle, and outside of your wrist. So when I'm tapping my wrists together, I'm turning them a little bit to see if I can hit all 3 spots. So you can do it this way. Sometimes I cross my arms and it doesn't feel as awkward like that. And then the last one is up on top of your head. So as we're going through the repeater phrases, I might say something like, I feel so jealous right now. And then I move to the next spot for whatever reason or for a million reasons. So we just start honoring and acknowledging all the things and switch spots every time. If you find a spot that feels better or just feels like it needs more attention than others, you can stay there. You don't have to be on
Right.
the exact same spot that I'm on or that anybody else is on. You can just pay attention to your body and intuitively go where you feel like you need to go next. But ideally, we're tapping on all the spots because that covers all 14 energy meridians. Because we never know
Okay.
where the blockage actually is in our energy system.
Sure. As we were doing that, there were a couple places that felt more maybe
Uh
tender
huh.
than the other ones. Is that like a sign like, oh, stay there longer or not longer, or just like, oh, it's just your body is more tender in some places?
That's up to you. If it was me, I would probably stay there a little bit longer. Just because to me, that means that there's like an energy blockage in that spot.
Okay.
If energy was flowing freely and you were in a really good state, it wouldn't hurt. So maybe that spot more than
Mm,
others needs a little extra attention.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you, take a rating, and I want you to kind of let's imagine that time in Costa Rica. And if you can really kind of drudge up those really intense emotions from that experience and tell me what your number is 0 to 10.
Oh, I was a
You were
10
10.
for sure.
Yeah.
I was an absolute 10.
How did you
Yeah.
know? Did you feel it somewhere in your body? Just kind of a
Yeah. I've always like I figured out my places and can recognize them pretty well. When I get that jealousy, it's always my gut
mm-hmm.
and my chest tightens. And then, of course, I really carry it kind of in my jawline. Like I can tell I kind of clench my mouth
Yeah.
some and
Yeah.
yeah, like purse my lips.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. The tapping round that we're going to do is more genericized. If I was working with you one
Yeah.
on one, I would get details about that event and I would use your words back to you so that it would be really specific for you and that
Mhm.
experience. But we're going to kind of genericize the whole
Sure.
thing
Yeah.
and kind of offer up a lot of different options for what could be contributing to that feeling. So I'm going to bring up my tapping script and we're going to start on your karate chop point. So,
Okay.
whenever I say a statement, you can just repeat after me, say what I say, and tap where I tap, and we're just going to go through it. Okay.
Okay.
even though I feel insanely jealous right now.
Even though I feel insanely jealous right now.
It's really scary and kind of involuntary.
It's really scary and kind of involuntary.
And I honor myself and my feelings about this anyway.
And I honor myself and my feelings about this anyway.
Even though I feel so jealous in my relationship,
Even though I feel so jealous in my relationship,
I honor all parts of who I am,
I honor all parts of who I am.
and I'm open to releasing this issue now.
And I'm open to releasing this issue now.
Even though I feel this jealousy in my relationship,
Even though I feel this jealousy in my relationship,
I accept myself anyway,
I accept myself anyway.
and I honor my courage in tackling this issue.
And I honor my courage in tackling this issue.
Okay, now we're going to go to the eyebrow point. I feel so jealous.
I feel so jealous.
It feels irrational and all consuming.
It feels irrational and all
I
consuming.
feel like it's taking over my thoughts and my words.
I feel like it's taking over my thoughts and my words.
Jealousy is coursing through my system,
Jealousy is coursing through my system.
and I feel unable to stop it.
And I feel unable to stop it.
I don't like myself when I'm experiencing jealousy like this.
I don't like myself when I'm experiencing jealousy like this.
It feels desperate and extremely uncomfortable.
It feels desperate and extremely uncomfortable.
And I wish it would just go away.
And I wish it would just go
I
away.
feel embarrassed that it has such a hold on me.
I feel embarrassed that it has such a hold on me.
And my heart is struggling with the truth of that.
And my heart is struggling with the truth of that.
This insane jealousy.
This insane jealousy.
Maybe there's a legitimate reason for it.
Maybe there's a legitimate reason for
Maybe
it.
I'm reacting to my partner's behavior.
Maybe I'm reacting to my partner's behavior.
Or maybe I have past hurts that I would rather not duplicate.
Or maybe I have past hurts I'd rather not duplicate.
Maybe I have an instinct about something,
Maybe I have an instinct about
and
something
I'm frantically searching for evidence.
and I'm frantically searching for evidence.
Feeling so jealous and insecure the whole time.
Feeling so jealous and insecure the whole time.
And I wish I could just let it go and walk away.
And I wish I could just let it go and walk away.
But I can't. I'm consumed with jealousy,
But I can't. I'm consumed with
and
jealousy.
it's getting the better of me.
And it's getting the better of me.
These intense feelings.
These intense feelings.
Maybe I don't feel attractive enough
Maybe I don't feel attractive enough
or confident enough.
or confident enough.
Maybe it's truly hard to believe that my partner is satisfied with me.
Maybe it's truly hard to believe my partner is satisfied with me.
It's exposing it's exposing the low self-image I have.
It's exposing the low self-image I have.
And there's a part of me that feels completely unlovable.
There's a part of me that feels completely unlovable,
And it's truly painful.
and it's truly painful.
It's hard to see what value I bring to this relationship.
It's hard to see what value I bring to this relationship.
So I get really jealous that someone can fill that gap easily.
So I get really jealous that someone can fill that gap easily.
And I want to honor that at the deepest level.
And I want to honor that at the deepest level.
It's really scary to acknowledge that I'm struggling with this
It's really scary to acknowledge that I'm struggling with
and
this
to be open to looking at it from a new perspective.
and to be open to looking at it from a new perspective.
Maybe this relationship is worth it, though.
Maybe this relationship is worth it,
I
though.
don't want to continue feeling this way.
I don't want to continue feeling this
And I
way.
would love to have the courage to break this cycle
And I would love to have the courage to break this cycle
and feel open about trusting myself and my instincts.
And feel open about trusting myself and my
even
instincts,
if it feels vulnerable and scary.
even if it feels vulnerable and scary.
If I let myself be vulnerable and provide some transparency about my triggers,
If I let myself feel vulnerable and provide some transparency about my triggers,
maybe my partner and I can manage the situation with some compassion
maybe my partner and I can manage the situation with some compassion
and work on understanding each other's vulnerabilities.
and work on understanding each other's
I
vulnerabilities.
want to feel like I'm worthy and deserving of love.
I want to feel like I'm worthy and deserving of
I've been
love.
expecting my partner to make me feel that way,
I've been expecting my partner to make me feel that
but
way.
it's clear this is an inside job.
But it's clear this is an inside job.
I must accept that this is my work to do, not theirs,
I must accept that this is my work to do, not theirs.
and surrender the idea that I need to heal my injured heart.
And surrender the idea that I need to heal my injured heart.
Feeling more and more peaceful in my body now
Feeling more and more peaceful in my body
as
now
I embrace the truth of this situation
as I embrace the truth of this situation
and vow to make the best choice for me in this relationship.
and vow to make the best choice for me in this relationship,
Whether there's validity to my jealousy or not,
whether there's validity to my jealousy or not,
so I can heal the wounds that keep me in a disempowering place.
so I can heal the wounds that keep me in a disempowering place.
Okay, take a nice deep breath. So then we would take another rating
Okay.
and go from there.
Yeah. I could definitely see how, I mean, it because I'm not in it, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that I feel like would have brought me down to a good maybe, 4,
Yeah.
3, somewhere there
Yeah. It doesn't take
after
much.
doing that.
It doesn't take much.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
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 Thank you, my gosh, for walking us through that. I have a couple
Of
questions if
course.
that's all
Yeah.
right? Okay. So when I said, like, uh, I think people will get caught up on the time frame, like, how long does it take? And you're just saying, as long as stuff is coming to your mind, you just keep saying that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the switch over to the positive, I guess, is like when I've drained out all that negative or I feel like I've gotten all that negative, then I switch over to the positive
Mm-hmm.
and give us what is the goal there that I'm trying to tell myself? Just that it is my issue to work through and, um, is there a kind of a goal there that we're trying to hit?
The goal is to feel neutral in the jealousy.
Okay.
And to feel peaceful about the idea that you need to do some work around increasing your self-esteem
Mhm.
and letting go of insecurities, that type of thing.
Got it. So it's just telling ourselves like, "Hey, this is our work. We know that we've got some work to do, that we're working on ourselves to heal this jealousy and insecurity." That's kind of
Yeah.
the because I think people will get really caught up on the script or the what they're supposed to say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that might be a thing that they would get caught up on.
It's easy to do. So when I
Yeah.
created the app and all of the scripts within the app, I have to kind of genericize things, and I have to kind of take everybody on the full emotional arc. So, really delving into kind of all of the negative aspects or the uncomfortable aspects of what you're feeling, and then kind of bringing it over to a positive that can leave you feeling in a peaceful state. But what people can expect is if they start off at a 10, like you were when you were in Costa Rica, they can expect that it's going to take like maybe 4 rounds to get you down to a 0. So it's not in general going to get you down to a 0 in 1 round. It's going to take more than 10
Right.
minutes, but it's taken a lifetime to kind of create these feelings in you. And so have an expectation that it's going to take at least 45 minutes to an
Right.
hour of constant tapping. I will
Mm.
always encourage people, if they're using the app or anything else, to infuse their own words and thoughts into it. So if I'm not saying exactly what you're feeling, don't say what I'm saying, say what you're feeling. That's the most important thing. Use your words, use your experience and the sensations that are coming up in your body. Like if I was doing a tapping run with you, I would have acknowledged the fact that you feel it in your gut. I would have acknowledged that
Mm.
the words and the emotions are getting stuck in your throat and you feel a lot of tension there. Like I would have acknowledged and honored all of those things, all of those parts of you that were struggling in those moments. I would have acknowledged all of it. So I want everybody to just assume that their experience is the most important one, their words are the most important, and say what is most meaningful to them. The tapping scripts are meant as a guide for people who don't exactly know what they're feeling, haven't often allowed themselves to um, uh, even get curious about what they're feeling. They just know the rage and the intensity of the
Right.
jealousy that's at the top.
Right.
But
Yeah.
so it's just meant as a guide.
You know what? I want to share something. This is so interesting as you were talking. The emotions were kind of coming up in me, which is bizarre. Um, because probably I'm so, I wasn't even, near a 10 on the jealousy. I wasn't jealous at all. I'm sitting here with you,
Yeah.
but I was thinking about that time when I felt that way. And you mentioned something about feeling it in my kind of my throat, my jaw, and
Mm-hmm.
my words being stuck there. And that's sort of that feeling that I maybe had not connected to this before of not being heard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not being
Mm-hmm.
heard.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big thing that's been, a thing throughout my life. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting. I don't know why that was just coming up there. Again, probably because, tapping on all those things and getting to that relaxed point and you just happen to say those words. So there was some emotion there that started to come up like, oh gosh, man. Yeah, that's still a little bit there.
Yes, and that's to your benefit to actually feel the emotion because that's how we move through it. So you allow
Yeah.
yourself to feel it and that's it's meant to do that. It's meant to be triggering for you and to get yourself to the most intense state that you can be because that's when you
Mhm.
know you will have addressed all the issues. Like
Yeah.
if you just come into it, well, I don't feel jealous in this moment, but I'm tapping on jealousy and it's not going to do anything. But if we kind of put you in that moment in Costa Rica when you
Mhm.
were feeling all of those things, and then you kind of remember and you feel it and you allow yourself to feel it because that trauma is still there until you move through
Yeah.
it. And that's when we can truly neutralize that particular event or that
Yeah,
particular
so
feeling. Yes.
good.
Yes.
Okay. So I love that you have an app. I want you, if you don't mind, share information about the app. Where can people go to get it? Because I think, like, even if you're in the beginning of this, you've never done it before, you're going to love to have you, Amy, walking through and guiding someone
Mm-hmm.
in their tapping. And then, as you said, okay, I can break out maybe to my own things or say my own
Yeah.
things as I just get familiar with it. So, how do we get the app? Tell us about that.
Yeah, you can find it on the Apple or Google Play stores. If you go to my website, soarwithdapping.com/podcast dash special, your listeners can find a code to get 50% off of their first annual subscription. You can also find me on social media on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the socials, because I do like a little daily tapping on different things to kind of give people a gift to get throughout their day. Um, but yeah, the
Great.
thing that
And what's the app called again?
Soar with tapping.
Soar with Tapping. So go grab the app. I'm definitely going to download it. And thank you so much. Will you give the link again? We'll put it in the show notes,
Okay,
but if you'll tell them the link again to get the 50% off.
sure. Soarwithtapping.com/podcast dash special.
Awesome. Amy, thank you so much. I love it. That was my first tapping
Oh,
experience,
good.
and you brought some emotion up in me. So I'm gonna have to go give that some attention, I think. So
I hope you do. I hope you do. You won't do any harm,
yeah,
and it just might help.
right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being
Yeah, I
here. This
loved
was
it. I
great.
loved it. Thank you, Shannon.